Hi guys, and welcome back to Ascend of a Learning's Lab. This is Mrs. Louisa, and I'll be working with you guys again this week. Today we're going to be learning about numbers. We're going to be learning also this week about different numbers as well. But if you're new to Ascend of a Learning Labs, welcome. My name is again Mrs. Lopez, and if you are returning or seen previous videos, welcome back, and let's get started. Let me share my screen with you here real quick. So today we are going to be doing really what are numbers. Let's let this load a little bit longer. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is really learning what are numbers, like different types of numbers, and we're going to give them the specific name as well. So our agenda today is you're going to grab your materials, your paper and pencil. So pause the video for 2 minutes to grab your materials. Okay, welcome back. And our joke of the day today is, why shouldn't you let advanced math intimidate you? If your answer was, it's really easy as pie, then you're right. And then our objectives today are, I can define the number types, and I can place numbers with the correct number type. I'm going to repeat them again, and I want you to repeat them after me, and then we'll get started. I can define the number types, and I can place numbers with the correct number type. Okay, let's get started. So I really want you to think. What are the last 3 times you've used numbers, such as dialing a phone number, counting money, or reading a sign? I want you to write down those 3 numbers right now. Okay, so now that you have your 3 numbers written down, I'm going to tell you mine. I ate breakfast at 8 a.m., so I'm going to write down the numbers 8 and 0 because those are the 2 numbers that I've used in the last numbers I've used. So I have 8 and 0. You should have another number. So you could possibly have 2, 3, 4, whatever number you have previously used. And I want to know, like, what do you call these numbers? If you said whole numbers or counting numbers or natural numbers, you're correct. So now, let's say I have $100. That was what you got for your birthday. Lucky you. Did you know that 100 is an integer? And you use integers all the time. Integers are everywhere. You use integers during the winter when you check temperature and find out that it's 5 degrees below zero. Ooh, really cold. Integers are also used in football when a player runs for a gain of 10 yards. Go team! And there's so much more. So as you can see, integers are everywhere. But really, what is an integer? So that's in our vocabulary. An integer is a positive number or negative numbers and 0. So integers really cover all those numbers, positive, negative, and 0. And then this means the numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, as well as -1, -2, -3 are also integers. The only thing, though, is integers do not have any added parts such as decimals or fractions. Therefore, numbers with fractions like 3 and 1/2 or decimals like -7.5 are not integers. So I'm going to show you all the other number terms that you would be able to call these numbers. So the first one is natural numbers. These are 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's no negative numbers, and they're basically called the counting numbers. Then there's whole numbers. This includes 0. This is all the natural numbers with 0 added. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Integers, like we've already established, is negative numbers, 0, and the positive numbers. A whole number or a negative number, there's no fractions and there are no decimals. There is a specific name for the fractions and the decimals, and those are called rational numbers. So we have 1/2, 0.75, negative 0.3. These are all numbers that can be written as a fraction. 0.75 could be written as 3/4, and negative 0.3 is negative 3/10. So, really, what are the numbers? How do they look? Well, I have this Venn diagram that I want to show you. It starts off with the natural numbers, then the whole numbers, the integers, and then the rational numbers. Whole numbers are a subset of integers. So all whole numbers are in integers, but not all integers are going to be in the whole number. Some, but not all. And then integers is also a subset of rational numbers. Integers could also be a rational number, but rational numbers cannot be an integer. I have these numbers here, and it looks like I've already put some of them in there for you already, but let's go over them. So, we have our natural numbers. We're going to start off with 5. We know 5 is also a natural number, and we know it's in a whole number. So -1, what is -1 going to be? Well, we know that integers deals with negative numbers, so that's going to be an integer. But what is the only part that you could do a fraction? Well, that's rational numbers. Rational numbers are going to be fractions, so we know that the next one is also going to be a rational number, -3/4. 4 is also, again, a whole number, but it's also a natural number. Integer, we only have a negative in front of the 10, so we know that that's going to be an integer. We have 0.5, which is a decimal, and that is only one section of these 4 number, and that is going to be a rational number because it is a decimal. Remember, our rule with rational numbers is that they are decimals. Also, 22/7 is also going to be a rational number because it is a fraction. We have 9.5, which is also another decimal that's going to go in numbers. We have the 8, because you can count up to 8. And then our last one is 0. We know that 0 is not a natural number, so that is a whole number. So now I want you to, we're going to do another one. Here it is right here. I want you to pause the video for 5 to 10 minutes, and I want you to practice putting all these numbers in the correct slot. I'm going to come back and we're going to go over it. Okay, so now that we're back, we do have some of the numbers up there already because we know that they're whole numbers, but we're going to go over them again. So we have 6, -3, 3/8, -1/4, 2, -20, -0.25, 14/7, 5.5, -5, and 0. So we go off at 6. Well, we see 6 is already in our whole numbers, but 6 is also a natural number. So we're actually going to put that one in the natural number section as well. So what does the next number look like? What is specific about it? Yes, if you said negative sign, then there is a negative sign in front of the 3, so that is only going to go in the orange section because it is an integer, because it is a negative. Now looking at the next number, we have 3/8. What is that? That's a fraction. So we only know the one section that that number is going to go into, and that's going to be a rational number, 3/8. That also goes with -1/4. Yes, it is a negative, but it's a fraction. Rational numbers basically are mostly all the numbers from negative, 0, and to positive fractions. So, like I said in the previous slide too, natural numbers are whole numbers, but whole numbers, not all whole numbers could be natural numbers. Same with integers. Whole numbers can be integers, but not all integers could be whole numbers because of the negative part of the integers. Same with the rational numbers. Integers can be rational numbers, but rational numbers cannot be integers because they are decimals and fractions, and that's the rational numbers. So negative 1.4, negative 1/4 is a rational number. Even though it is a negative, it is a fraction, so that is going to go into the rational numbers. So we have 2. We know that 2 is a whole number, but also a natural number because you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So that is your natural number, but it is also a whole number. Then our integers, where next number is -20. So that is going to be an integer, -20. 0.25 or 2500 is a rational number because it has a decimal. And that is going to go in the rational number section. Now, this one is a little bit tricky because it is a fraction, 14/7. But it actually is going to be a natural number because 7 goes into 14 2 times. So if you were to reduce that fraction, it would actually give you a whole number of 2 or a natural number of 2. Our next one is 5.5 or 5 5/10. That one has a decimal, and so that one should go in the rational numbers. Our next number is -5. It is a negative number. That means it's an integer, so it's going to go into the integer section. And what is 0? 0 is not a natural number, but it is a whole number. So these are all the numbers that we've practiced today. So let's answer some questions. How are the natural and whole numbers different? How are integers and rational numbers different? How are the integers and rational numbers the same? And how are integers and whole numbers the same? So pause the video, answer these questions, and we'll be back. Okay, welcome back. So, how are natural and whole numbers different? If you wrote down the difference is that whole numbers also include 0, you could write down that that is the main difference between natural and whole numbers is the 0. And then we have how are the integers and the rational numbers different? I wrote down the difference is that can be represented as a fraction or a decimal. So rational numbers can be represented as a fraction or a decimal, but integers cannot. Integers have they're very similar, just the difference between them two is it could be represented as a fraction or a decimal. How are the integers and the rational numbers the same though? They both have negative numbers. So rational numbers could be a negative fraction or a negative decimal, but also integers could be negative whole numbers. And then, how are integers and whole numbers the same? They both have 0. But they also, if you wrote down they both have positive numbers, you're also correct. But the real way that those two numbers are the same are that they both have 0. So we're going to have a couple true or false questions as well. So pause the video, answer true or false for either of these questions, and then we'll be back. So pause the video for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and we'll be back. Okay, welcome back. So we're going to go over the answers. So -5 is a rational number. Is that correct? Is 0 an integer? If you wrote down true, that is also true. Is -10 a natural number? That's false. We know that negative numbers are not a part of the natural numbers. Natural numbers are the counting numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So now, let's look at -3.25. Is that an integer? It's close, but it's not. It is false because -3.25 is a decimal. Integers are also negative numbers, but they are not decimals. What are they? What is this number? -3.25 is what? Is a rational number. Okay, so now looking at 10 and 1/10 or 10.1, is that a rational number? Your answer should be true. Is 5 a whole number? Your answer should also be true. Is -18 a whole number? That answer should be false. -18 is a negative number that is part of the integers, so that is false. And last one is 3 a natural number? That is also true. So we do have some games that you can practice with. We have Khan Academy and some classifying number games. Those are going to be in your learning guides, and you'll be able to access those as well. And then our objectives are I can define the number types, and I can place numbers in the correct number type. We already have the definition, and we've placed them in the number types in that rainbow boxes. Those are going to be your natural numbers, your whole numbers, your integers, and your rational numbers.